Boom, 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 boom. East side, B side, what side are you on?
Have you ever thought to yourself, man, I sure would like to make a podcast. I've got so much to say about blank. Well, if you haven't heard about Anchor, you really should. It is the easiest way to make a podcast, and it's absolutely free. All right, I'm going to tell you why it's so easy. Okay, so with Anchor, there's creation tools that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many others. And you can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Trust me, I'm so excited about this. You can be too. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started.
Welcome
back. Hello. It's another edition of A-Side, B-Side podcast. How's it going, Adam?
It's going very well. That intro only took us 13 minutes. So I'm very impressed.
All of which will be edited out.
Yeah, I know. But at the same point, I think it speaks to how much we put into the love and attention of this podcast that we can't even welcome people without taking 13 minutes to talk about it.
It just shows how much I have to fuss at you to get things done.
Well, that's probably way more reality than anything.
So how was your week?
It was good. It was I worked a lot. I am in the process of planning a move. So I have not moved in 9 years. And
you got a lot of stuff.
I got a lot of stuff. And I am attempting to downsize from a 2-bedroom house into a studio apartment.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Because I have found that the less things I have, the less stuff I forget to clean up and, take care of. So I'm trying to have a more simplistic lifestyle. Mm-hmm. However, my history as a hoarder of all things makes that very difficult. So this has been my COVID personal challenge. I'm trying to take a life that has been keeping like literally every movie stub from the last 10 years.
Okay.
And put all of them in a box. And I have a storage area. So I'm putting all of the things I cannot really let myself get rid of into the storage area. But my whole goal for my new place, which I will be moving into hopefully within the next month, is to be much more simplistic and minimalist. And I've never done that before. So it's been a very trying and exciting and terrifying week all at once.
Well, how do you think the pupper is going to handle the move?
I think she's going to do well because my top two places are very dog friendly. One of them has its own dog park. The other one has a dog washing facility, and everyone in the building has dogs, but also everyone has to get their dogs tested for temperament by doing some sort of poo test, which is very weird. You bag the poo and they genetically test the poo for the traits of the dog. It's like a DNA test, I guess, which is weird, but also slightly encouraging because they clearly are all about people having dogs. So when I was younger, I moved to a place when I had a dog that said they were cool with dogs and wasn't cool with dogs. And I ended up having to give up my dog to keep my apartment. And that has always haunted me for going on 20 or 18 years now. So this move will be made with the complete idea that we will be able to stay together no matter what. So there are some things that I would give up individually in terms of square footage and or amenities that if there are the right type of environment for my dog, it will be better. So it's been a very interesting and trying week because the house I live in now has all been about my kids. My kids are now teenagers and they have absolutely no interest in hanging around their parents, which understandably I didn't either. So now I have the opportunity to spend a little bit more or a little bit less in terms of square footage to have a place that is more conducive to my pet, and also to be in a place that I really want to be in terms of area of town. So
yeah,
it's big, it's scary, it's fun, it's terrifying. I may just at some point chuck it all and live in my car. Who knows? It's very up in the air.
You would know where everything was.
Yes, I would. That would be taking minimalist to an extreme standpoint, because I have a Civic.
Oh yeah.
So me and a dog and a Civic, like I'm gonna have to really pick which board games I want to keep. How was your week?
It was good. Last weekend, my daughter had a little minor procedure, so I got to go visit with her for a few days and play mommy again, which was really nice, and take care of her. She is fine, by the way. She's absolutely fine. But it was funny.
The oldest.
This is the oldest. And it was funny because we got to do the whole hospital thing, which is very different now. You are not, you're allowed to kind of stay it was a same day procedure. And you're allowed to stay in the hospital up until they are called back. And then you have to leave the waiting room area. You're not allowed to stay there. You can go to the cafeteria, or you can go to the gift shop.
So you have to give up reading 4-month-old People magazines.
Yeah. To go buy $20 bottles of water. But the gift shop was not open because it was extremely early in the morning. So I went to the cafeteria, and then I just kind of sat in the parking lot, and then they update you constantly by phone, which is really cool. But it was so
it's like having a reservation at a restaurant.
Yeah, her pager goes off when your kid's ready. But it was really funny because when I picked her up at the front of the hospital, she saw me and she goes, mind you, she's completely sedated still, so it's really funny. She goes, "Mama," which of course made me feel really good, because when you're drugged up, your true feelings come out and stuff. And so it was really adorable.
And for full context, this is the oldest who has been on their own a little bit recently.
Oh, she's been on her own now. Well, she graduated, a year and a half ago. She's had her own place, her own job. Yeah. But even when she was in school, she kind of had her own place for a while.
She's been kind of much like you, being independent and strong and wanting to have her own thing going on. So the fact that she is now yelling "Mama" across the parking lot, it's adorable. That hasn't happened in quite a few years.
No, and the fact that she was just so excited for me to be there and everything. And it was so cute because I said, okay, let me put your address in the GPS so I can get you home and get you in the bed, get you rested. And she's like, I'll tell you where to go. And literally, you pull away from the curb of the hospital.
Yep.
And there's a light. And by the time we got to the light, she was knocked out. And it was hilarious. So
surgery's no joke, man.
Oh, no. And I tried to warn her. I was like, the entire day after, you're going to, be out of it, because that anesthesia, it takes a while to get out of your system. But I do have the hilarious pictures of her just completely passed out as she's supposed to be giving me direction. So it's a great memory for me. She got a kick out of it, which is the other part. She thought it was hilarious, which I knew she would. That's why I took the picture. I wouldn't have taken it if I thought she'd be upset by it. But, both of my kids have really good sense of humor. So things like that, they find funny. So, she was absolutely.
It's always a sticky wicket when you're dealing with teenagers and young adults. And when you think you could poke fun, you think it's okay, but there's always this little part of you in the back of your mind. They're like, are they going to be mad?
Fortunately, she thought it was hilarious. She's like, you've got to send me that picture. And she's posting it. So
good.
She loved it.
And everything is good.
And everything is good. She's fine. She's feeling much better. So we're all good there. But that was my week. And then, back to work as normal.
Yeah, waking up at 3 a.m. and having to deal with random people texting me, trying to get me to remember what day it is, and I should show up at 8 p.m.
I did not text you at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh,
no, you didn't. You have to get up. I was saying you have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yes.
And then by 10 a.m., when everyone else should be sleeping, you're like, Adam, we got to do this thing tonight. Just remember.
Actually, you did really good this week. You texted me. So I'm very proud of you.
Oh, yeah. Don't think I didn't know that was a test. Don't think I don't know you, Brooke. When I saw that a certain time of the day had passed and I had not received a text, I was like, yep, she's waiting for me to initiate. I understand that now. I'm going to do it. And you're laughing because it's true.
It's 100% true. Hey, we can laugh about it. And you know me, and I know you. And that's why I think that's why this works.
It's why it works. It's like, and it would be like, and I think honestly, if we want to like go, we'd take a deep dive, take a step back and talk about the past.
Oh man, you got the serious voice.
I got the serious voice. I am not good at mornings. So me being a morning show co-host was fraught with peril. I do not wake up well. So I know.
That's also why you had to drink 5 Mountain Dews every morning.
Yeah, it was not good. Now Mountain Dew has a new product called Kickstart, which had it been around when we were doing morning shows, I would have only had to drink 3. Mountain Dew, you can send the check to Adam at Weingarten at Venmo. That's not my Venmo name. But I know I did not do a good job of showing up on time when we had our short-lived but exceptional morning show. So I am trying very hard to be less horrible at showing up on time. But I have a nearly 40-year trend of being 15 minutes early or 5 minutes late. There is no in between.
Today you were actually, well, no, never mind.
I was right on time. I said, I'm ready.
You were right on time.
Yeah. I was on time. I was not early. I was not late. I should have been early, but I wasn't late. So
that's the important thing.
Yeah. I mean, I used to say this line that I don't think is true because often I will create a narrative because it is a good story and doesn't need to be grounded in fact. But I will have to check with my mother, who actually listens to this podcast. I used to make the joke that I was early at birth and I've been late ever since. But I don't even think that's true.
Oh, man.
But I've said that joke so many times, I'm not sure if it's true.
You've been lying on your mom.
I have to check with my mom if I was actually early or if I've just created that narrative because it's a good line for someone who's consistently late to everything.
Yeah. All right. Oh, real quick, want to mention if you have any ideas for Adam and I, maybe you have a true crime story, something that happened in your hometown, something you've known about that you would love for us to talk about. We would love to hear from you. Or maybe you've got some forgotten media, like a movie.
Like a favorite movie that you only remember as a child, or a song that means something different to you, or a time in your life that you said, this cartoon has been the most important thing, and then I turn around and it's never there again. Like, I don't know, Gargoyles.
Oh, so good.
So good. Still don't understand how that hasn't been made into a movie, but whatever.
I know.
It also had a lot of Star Trek voices in it, so that's even better.
Yeah, Jonathan Frakes, it's his birthday today, by the way.
It was? Commander Riker?
Yeah, as of when we're recording this, it is his birthday. So, yeah.
I mean, so this question could actually derail our entire podcast and friendship.
Uh-oh.
Favorite Riker, bearded or unbearded?
Bearded.
Yeah, okay.
Without a doubt.
We're good. Those first season and a half, that was some weird stuff, man. And let's be honest, Jonathan Frakes has never been unbearded since then. So even he knew it was a bad idea.
That's true. We're not going to get sidetracked, but what's the show that he did? And he always had the same line, but he would deliver it. Was it like Ripley's Believe It or Not or something?
Ripley's Believe It or Not or Unsolved Mysteries. Imagine if you wrote.
Yeah.
Would you believe? Something like that.
Yes. I think it was Ripley's Believe It or Not. Yeah. I think it was.
Would you believe? And like, he has become a cult figure in just like supercuts of him asking the same question over and over.
Yes.
Have you ever walked out of a mall into a huge parking area and realized you'd forgotten where you parked your car?
Ever gone mountain biking?
What do you want to be when you grow up? What's the right tip?
Have you called a plumber to your home lately? How superstitious are you?
I literally was on a bad first date one time, which, I mean, I know all first dates are bad, but I was on a bad first date one time, and I'm pretty sure the person I was on the date with was just repeating lines from that meme where she just kept asking questions. Would you believe what happened? Have you ever thought of this? Have you ever thought of that? And I was like, this is just getting quizzed by female Alex Trebek, and I'm very confused. They were all really weird. So I think she was I think about 5 seconds in, she's like, this isn't going to work. So I'm just going to meme this guy. And
she was just having fun with you.
Yeah, I wish I could have been in on it because I'd have been like, oh, yes, I also thought this was going to work, but it isn't clearly. So let's just play the game with the meme. But yeah, I swear she asked 5 consecutive questions from the meme of, have you ever thought about that? And it was all Ripley's Believe It or Not, Jonathan Frakes style.
All right, so we got totally sidetracked. But again,
and also,
have an idea.
If I wasn't going to get dinged, I would have said the phrase about Jonathan Frakes and that whole episode, about a whole episode. But I'm not going to get dinged, so I didn't say it. Damn it. So when I say we could do a whole episode on that, Brooke actually has a bell now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. I am some sort of Pavlovian cat.
There you go. A cat? It's a dog.
Well, but I think of bells and I think of cats. I don't know. It's weird.
Okay, back to what I was saying. If you have there's another bell. That's my dog's collar. But if you have an idea for us, you can Facebook message us. You can hit us on Instagram and a direct message. On Anchor, you can even leave us a voice message and we'll include it in the podcast.
Yeah, which would be super cool and would tie in with my topic tonight, which is people calling in and asking for things.
Oh, all right. We're going to do that in just a second.
All right, so this is either the 5th or 6th episode we've done. I'm still not totally convinced, but occasionally it is my turn. Oh, see, you almost said 5th too. It's very confusing.
Because you've said it like 18 times to me now.
Speak it into existence. This is the 6th episode we've had, and we take turns every time who gets to start. And I will be completely honest that when I know it is my turn, I get way more nervous for recording because it's super easy to react to Brooke's stories, and it is less easy to start and be the one who has to like set up the whole thing. So I know it's the 6th episode, but I was kind of playing that it was the 5th episode, so maybe she'd forget and let her start again.
Nope. It's your
but
turn.
That's not going to happen because she's really good at counting to 6 and I'm not. So this is my turn to start. Mm-hmm. And counting is kind of part of my theme for this week. So
are you like the count 1, 2,
1, 2, 3, 4 episodes? You should listen to them all. They're very good. That was like 3 different accents in one. So let's see everybody else do that because it's not easy to do. But counting is a big part of my theme for this week. So recently, I was on a road trip with my 2 kids. I have a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old. They are amazing, and they have entirely different music tastes than I do, especially my 15-year-old. Mm-hmm. They really love a different style of music than I do. And one of the cool things about a 3.5-hour road trip in a car that doesn't have a radio that works is that I'm working on it. I fixed the brakes first and the AC. The radio is third. Things. I figure that was an okay series of events for car fixers. But we have a portable speaker, and so we basically just listen to our Spotify playlists. Mm-hmm. And that had been just supernatural and normal and not something that jumped out to me as weird until, and my oldest, if she listens to this podcast, will probably get annoyed with me because I do not remember the name of the song. But one thing that she said about the song was that this was an unsigned artist who was number one on the iTunes download charts without any backing from a studio. And so that immediately made me think, okay, number one, when I was a kid, meant something different. It wasn't about iTunes download charts, but how much has that changed? And so I started to think about the idea of a number one hit and a countdown. And it brought me back to the first time in my life that I was able to control what was on the radio. So during grade school, I had a roughly 30-minute commute from my home to my grade school. And in the morning, my father would always drive us, and we would either listen to the oldies station or the news station. So I know a heck of a lot of songs from the 1950s and 60s, but I do not know many songs from the 1980s or early 90s because it was either oldies or the news. It wasn't until Christmas of 1994 that my world expanded in terms of music. My father, who was being very clever, decided to tell me that I was tasked with helping him buy my little brother a alarm clock as a present. So he let me pick out the alarm clock that would be my little brother's.
Okay.
Which was brilliant because obviously most kids are going to pick out the thing they want and then tell their parents that this is the one that I like. And then the parents would then know what the kid actually likes.
Mm-hmm.
I took it way too seriously and picked out a radio that I personally hated, but that I thought my brother would love. Come Christmas morning, we're unwrapping presents, and I unwrap a box with this radio that I did not like, but I was convinced my brother would like. Halfway through opening it up, as soon as I can see it, I was like, oh my gosh, my parents accidentally put the wrong name on this. I run over to my parents and I'm like, this is for Andrew. This isn't for me. We can rewrap it real quick. And my dad, this big smile on his face, is like, no, I told you it was for him, so you would pick out what you liked.
That's
it's for you. And I was like, son of a biscuit. I picked out the radio I thought my brother would like, who is 3.5 years younger than me, and it looks like a spaceship. It doesn't have a CD player or a cassette player. It has 2 alarms, and it looks like a spaceship. Now I, who is in 6th grade and should be so much cooler than fake spaceships, has this as my alarm clock radio.
You didn't tell them?
No, I didn't tell them for years. I was embarrassed. I thought I had failed some sort of weird test. So I wasn't going to tell anybody. But this also goes back to something we talked about previously. I'm really bad at mornings. So my parents, when I was in 6th grade, got me an alarm clock with 2 alarms because they were so tired of trying to get me up in time for school. They were like, set both alarms, and then we'll be the 3rd one, and then maybe, sweet heavenly God, we can get out of the house without a fight. It still didn't work. I'm really bad at mornings, always will be. If you want to like plan a party at 3 a.m, I'm in. If you want me to be somewhere by 9, it's going to be iffy. But this hated alarm clock that looked like a spaceship that I thought I was recommending for my brother actually became my gateway, my portal, my spaceship to understanding modern music. So I grew up in a very religious household. We listened to oldies on the radio and the news talk, and then Christian music, and that was about it.
You know what? Did I know that?
I think we've talked about this.
Okay.
Because I didn't really listen to any top 40 music until 1994. So I was 13 at this point, because 94, like if you're 8 days into 94, I'm 13. So 13 years old, I'm finally discovering popular music. And for me, the first thing I discovered, and it was Sunday nights, as I am winding down, getting ready for bed, go to school on Monday. I can't watch any more TV. I can go to my bedroom and I can turn on the radio and I can set my alarm. And it was Rick D's weekly top 40. Yeah. And when I'm talking to my kids recently about like what they consider number one songs and like what the charts are, they were like, oh, it's like streaming downloads and everything. There was no, I have to listen until 11:30 at night to find out what the number one song is going to be. Like, I've got to listen to the entire show and do the countdown from 40 to 1 with a bunch of little, vignettes and comedy bits thrown in, and not playing certain songs because it was the mid 90s. And even though songs were popular, like a syndicated show couldn't play songs that were more urban, which, I mean, in and of itself is an entire confusing and probably needs to be looked at issue. But I didn't say it.
But you wanted to.
But we could do an entire episode on that. I'm trying so hard to say it, but not say it. So Rick Dees was so you got, if Dr. Pepper is Casey Kasem, Rick Dees was Mr. Pibb. He was not the number one guy, but he was still in a lot of restaurants, and it was kind of the same flavor.
Okay, and you have to give him Disco Duck.
Oh, and he had so many, like, he pushed the envelope way more than Casey Kasem did. Mm-hmm. Like, he had more jokes. It was some off-color humor for little private school kid like me. Like, it was some stuff there was kind of eye-opening. But I decided, once I got on this sort of mental train last weekend after the kids and I were at the lake and we did the road trip and everything, I was like, I think I know the exact, like, maybe 3-month period where I discovered pop music. And I said, you know what? I bet the internet can find me Rick Dees' weekly top 40 from that period, where I finally started listening to pop music. And let's be honest, like, this is a seminal moment in my life. I wanted to be in radio. I loved what Rick Dees was doing. So there was a guy up here in Minnesota who was doing the old school sort of radio show, just like Rick Dees did a little bit. He would have all the voices. His wife was a voice actor, and they would have all these impressions and what. So Steve Cannon did the afternoon show on WCCO, and I absolutely loved that show. It took me about 8 years to realize that it was two people doing all of the voices, but I loved it so much. And Rick Dees was much the same way. So I was like, okay, I'm going on the internet. I'm going to find one of the top 40 playlists from this period of my life, because I remember some of the songs explicitly. So this is 1994. This is a different era of music. Like, you had sort of this top 40 that melded everything together, but was still very segregated and not very welcoming to a lot of different styles of music. And you had just some like really weird juxtapositions of songs. So the beautiful thing about the internet is that if you have a sleeping disorder and enough caffeine, you can find just about anything. Mm-hmm. So I actually found a breakdown of the Rick Dees weekly top 40 from June 25th, 1994, which would have been just at the end of my seventh grade year when I really started to listen to music. And I'm going to break down some of these songs in this, and you will learn so much about me because this is probably the genesis of my musical taste.
Okay.
All right. So, June 25th, 1994. Number 39 on the top 40 is a song that I play almost every day. I am opening the bar as I'm setting up the bar at Groveland Tap and getting everything ready for the day and trying to hype myself up. It was not played in 1994. It was announced by the title and song only, but it is Nate Dogg and Warren G, and they're going to regulate.
Regulators!
Mount up.
Mount up.
It also ties into one of my favorite movies, which is Young Guns. So, I mean, how could I not love that? Then we fall down a little bit, and we've got a song called I Need Your Love by Boston. In 1994, Boston was making music. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yes.
Did not know that was a thing.
Okay, yeah. Now that you say it, I'm like, oh, yeah.
So that we go down a little bit further, and this song I legitimately remember listening to as I fell asleep because it was a pretty cool clock radio. I could set it for like an hour snooze and it would just shut off.
Mm-hmm.
Come to My Window by Melissa Etheridge.
Come to my window.
I mean, that song is burned into my mind as one of the first Pop 40 songs that I remember. Also, Lion King came out in 1993, 1994.
Yes.
So, Can You Feel the Love Tonight is on the top 40.
Sorry, okay, stop. I'm not going to sing everyone.
No, I love this. We're going to probably get sued by so many things. Another song that I literally can see myself laying in my bed, looking over at the clock radio shaped as a spaceship, and hearing John Mellencamp and I'm going to say this incorrectly, Michelle
and Giocello.
Yes, singing Wild Night. That song was all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got Crazy by Aerosmith, which the song was great.
Man, you are hitting me with some good ones.
Seriously, this was an epic year or month or 1 week of Rick D's weekly top 40. Then we've got Shine by Collective Soul, which I felt especially close to because it was like kind of Christian rock, but not really. Like we literally had like our youth pastor do a whole sermon on whether it was Christian rock or not, which I mean, talk about wasted energy.
I love that your youth pastor was like, all right, we'll talk about it.
I was like, do we, is this okay to like, or do we should not like? I'll Take You There by General Public.
Oh,
I'll take you there. Oh, yes. And then we get into, and I have, my enjoyment of this band has changed as I have heard things that they were more different than I expected them at the time. But this was the preeminent Ace of Base time. So we've got the song, or the sign. We've got Don't Turn Around.
Don't turn around.
I mean, and Ace of Base was the stuff. I mean, it's ring the bell. Ace of Base could have their entire episode of like how they were so huge and then disappeared.
Yeah, they did.
Like they never had another album that worked at all. Also, as I was a 13-year-old boy at the time and I was going through some changes, Janet Jackson's Anytime, Anyplace.
I'm not going to sing it. I'm not going to do it. Nope.
That made me feel some things. So just, just say it.
Anytime.
And the number one hit from the weekly top 40 in June 25th of 1994. I almost at 2000. 1994. was by the world's worst boy band. Because let's be honest, if we separated these dudes and we just put them up, no one thinks they're heartthrobs. It was I Swear by All for One.
I swear.
It was such a good song that literally a year later, some dude put on a cowboy hat and sang it as a country song. Didn't change anything.
Yes.
And it was number one on the country charts as well.
Yeah.
So I looked at this and I said, holy cow, this is like everyone, like so many of these songs, like, ooh, Baby I Love Your Way by Big Mountain made me look into reggae. Yeah. I was a 13-year-old who didn't even know what drugs were, but I was like, reggae seems super cool. Mr. Jones by the Counting Crows. I still irrationally hate that song. I don't know why.
What?
But
How do you hate it?
I don't know why. The Counting Crows have this mental block for me. When I hear them, I get irrationally angry. It's probably because Adam Duritz dated Courtney Cox at one point, and I was so incredibly jealous.
Which is still amazing because he kind of looks like Sideshow Bob.
Yeah, but like overweight.
Yeah.
So like evidently I should just be a singer in a band.
Just get some dreads. And
no one wants me to have dreads.
A weird facial hair thing going on.
I've got weird facial hair. It's the only kind I got. Oh, another one. Do you remember? Okay, now it's weird when I say the title of the song, but there was a early 90s movie with Ethan Hawke and Robin Williams. And going back to my whole talk about songs from movies were huge in the 90s. I'll Remember by Madonna.
Yes.
I think it was, I don't remember the name of the movie it was from. I think it had Ethan Hawke. I think it had Robin Williams. I might be wrong. But that was just like, that was such an emotional, and as a 13-year-old, you're like, yeah, I'll remember. Yeah. Yeah, I'll totally
You have no
remember.
idea what's going on, but
I don't have any idea what's going on, but I'll remember. Okay. So
Dead
after
Poets Society.
Okay, there you go. So super big movie that Adam should probably be able to recall by mentioning two of the people in it, and still I didn't do it because I was so thrown off by the fact that I was thinking about Madonna.
When she was good.
Yeah. She's still trying to do stuff, so respect.
I mean, yeah.
So after I go down this memory lane, I decide, okay, I'm going to take a step back because maybe I am viewing things differently, but it doesn't feel like we have that same reverence or importance or focus on what is a number one hit anymore. So I literally started just asking coworkers, friends, what is a number one hit to you? And the vast majority of them, the first thing they were like, oh, and then as soon as like they thought about it, they really didn't have an answer. Because now we've got so many different charts, whether it's like it used to be like SoundScan. It was like, how many records have you sold or how many radio plays have you had? But we've got artists that never get like actual CDs made who are absolute hits and monsters within the industry. So how do we determine what is a hit song anymore?
Are you asking me?
I'm just putting it out there because I could not find a consensus with the people I talked to, and I couldn't find a consensus within myself. I mean, there are still record sales. There's still like iTunes downloads, and
that's pretty much what makes it these days is streaming. If your streaming numbers are big, you're going to have a number one album.
I mean, you've got an entire industry, like, or an entire vertical, I should say, like SoundCloud, which nobody on there could be signed to a record label. And
that's not true. Some people have gotten signed from SoundCloud.
Well, yeah, but you don't have to be on there.
Oh,
you don't have
okay,
to be
okay.
signed to be on there, right?
Right. No, you don't. No.
Yeah. So SoundScan, which used to be like the thing where like people figured out like how many records have you sold, that was how you determined success, is no longer a thing. So how do we figure out? And the answer may be that it is no longer as important as it once was. I mean, I am not a 13-year-old pretending to go to sleep and listening to Rick D's weekly top 40 to figure out who's the number one on this week. Or I'm not the 16-year-old who rushed home after soccer practice to watch TRL live to figure out which video was the number one according to Carson Daly and the 17 people in the studio. But it makes me wonder, did we lose something when we don't have that suspension? We don't have that moment where we wait and find out, because it's all instant gratification. It's like, oh, we just look up the chart, who's number one. Like, I remember arguing with friends about what video would be on TRL when we got home, and whoever was wrong would have to make the pizza.
I mean, that's not a bad bet.
Nah, granted, it was frozen pizza, and no matter who it was, we always forgot to turn the oven off, so that would get me grounded for at least a day. But that was some tough stuff, and like, it was important, and we argued about it, and I don't know that opportunity exists anymore, and it kind of makes me sad.
I mean, there are still countdown shows, but you're right, it is different. It is. I mean, because I can remember with Casey Kasem, he would read the letters, "Dear Casey," and he'd get super serious, and they'd be these like heartfelt, like tug, like you'd like cry, and he's like, "And for you, I'm gonna play this song," and you're like, "Yes, Casey, play that song."
So that is my side, is a memory of how important those weekly top 40 listens were, and how it's kind of interesting that like they're replaying over the last 10 years. It's happened in a lot of markets where a radio station will grab the old, like, so if it was June 25th of 2014, they would play June 25th, 1994 weekly top 40 on a 90s focus station, and how connected people were to those. And I think it is great how many options we have, but humanity has always been kind of built to, maybe unfairly, decide who is number one and who is the best, whether that was the best hunter, the best gatherer, the best guy who broke sticks or whatever, when we were all Cro-Magnon. But we always want to know who's number one. And it's kind of sad to me that there isn't a definitive number one option or number one countdown as there used to be.
So you don't remember the artist that kicked this whole thing off, right? That your daughter was listening to.
I don't, and that she's going to be so angry with me because we talked about it for about 20 minutes, but I was also driving a car. So I was mostly paying attention, but also distracted.
Right.
And I'm going to have to ask her. But this is also a great test to see if she listens. Because she says she has. I don't know. I will find out and mention it next week. It was... I'm going to be so wrong. It was a really good song. I was very impressed. But it was somebody who was completely unsigned and shot to the top of the Apple iTunes chart within the last 6 months.
You don't remember the song title either?
No.
Was it a male or a female?
Female artist.
Okay. Was it like a poppy song? Was it like a...
I mean, it was more, I would say, soul pop with a hint of R&B to it and a little alternative. I will ask for the details and we can share it on either next week or I'll add it as a comment because it really is what spurned this whole thing. As soon as she said she was number one on iTunes, and I was like, is that how we judge a number one now. Like, what is even a one-hit wonder anymore?
Is it? Well, I mean, one-hit wonders are people that make the radio with just one song. Still,
Right. But I mean, I feel like that's so many more people now.
Was it Morgan Wallen? Okay, probably not, because it didn't seem to spark any recognition.
It could be. I'm honestly going to have to ask her.
All right.
I know. So disappointing.
There you have it. I do miss. I mean, there was some excitement about listening, and I mean, we still do. Like I said, there are still. Ryan Seacrest took over for Casey
Seacrest took it for Casey, and Rick Dees didn't get that job, and that's why he left the syndicated company he was with. It was also Casey Kasem's company.
Oh, look at you! Yeah, you know something I didn't.
It was a thing. Like Rick Dees' whole goal was to succeed Casey Kasem as the number one guy in the country, and Ryan Seacrest, who had 7 jobs already, got the job.
Which I think I see both sides of it. I'll say that.
No, I think if I was the one choosing, I would have picked Seacrest too, because I mean, he's younger. He's got a built-in nationwide audience because of the other stuff he does. He's got a morning show out of the arguably number one rock station in the country.
Oh, you know what? You're getting another bell.
We could do an entire episode on Seacrest. We could do an entire episode on his hair.
No.
I mean, could we just like point out the fact that like when American Idol started, it was Seacrest and another guy splitting duties, and he legitimately like twins in the womb with that guy. He absorbed him and he disappeared forever.
Ryan, I think it was Ryan Edelman, and he did not think that American Idol was going to be a success, so he walked away from the show, and he has since come out and said he regrets it.
Well, yeah. Like when you break up with something that turns on to be super huge and then you'd like to still be relevant, you'd be like, I was wrong. Please pay attention to me again.
Right.
But I'm sure he's doing some really great stand-up in LA.
At the Laugh-In.
Yeah. Except not now.
Well,
awkward.
Maybe virtually. There are some places that are still doing virtual comedy shows. So maybe virtually.
I don't think, I mean, comedy, there's something about in person that works. And
yeah,
unless
but
you're
comedy specials work, so why can't you have a virtual show?
Because that's somebody big.
But if you're funny, you're
funny.
More
leadway. I don't know if that's true all the time.
Okay.
Sometimes somebody who's famous and kind of funny will get bigger laughs than somebody who's unknown and super funny.
Okay.
Says the failed stand-up comic.
I mean, Kevin Hart was unfamous and very funny, and look at him now.
He's still super short.
Well, I don't think fame changes your height. Look at Tom Cruise.
I mean, everybody thinks he's taller than he is, so I think it does.
That's because he masks his shortness.
He does. Also, have you watched any of the Die Hard series on, I think it's QB or something?
On Quibi? No, I haven't. We had this whole conversation.
Sorry. I haven't watched it either. But
I haven't watched it. But I was finishing the Fugitive, and now I'm going to start it.
Oh, so you watched The Fugitive the whole way through?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I got to watch it.
Oh,
I like Kiefer.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to finish it.
I like Kiefer.
If you have Quibi, I highly, highly recommend The Fugitive. If you don't have Quibi, maybe see if they do a trial run. And
yeah, they do. Have you watched any of the Great Escape or the Greatest Game, the one with Liam Hemsworth?
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
That one looks really good too, because they've got oh my god, I'm so bad at names. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that guy is so good.
Very good. You should watch that. Definitely. I'd say watch that one before you watch Die Hard. But I haven't watched Die Hard yet, so I don't know.
All right, so this will probably get cut out of the entire episode, but just curious. Have you watched Stuber?
No.
With Kanal Najami and David Batista?
Batista. Kamal Najami and Dave Batista. No, I haven't. But I want to. Because I like
It's
Kamal.
really fun. It's really fun. And then also Date Night.
Oh, yeah, because that's why you ended up getting HBO Max. And Lovebirds, not Date Night.
Lovebirds. Is that Tiffany Haddish?
No, it's Issa Rae.
I'm so bad with names.
You are horrible.
I'm sorry.
Horrible. I'm glad I'm here to help you.
But Lovebirds is also really good. Like, I think a fun date night, and this is probably why I'm single, would be to watch Stuber and Lovebirds back to back.
Lovebirds to me is one of the more realistic relationship movies that's been out in a very long time.
So what was the Adam Sandler, Jennifer Aniston murder mystery Netflix movie? Boat Trip or something? I really enjoyed that one too, but it was the least likely relationship show.
That's their third movie together?
Really?
Yeah.
Some questions going on there.
Murder mystery.
Murder mystery, yeah. And of course, I love murder mysteries, so I was totally into it.
Yeah, that's their third movie together. They do really good movies together, though.
When she's funny, she does comedy really well.
Mm-hmm. They did Just Go With It. And then there's one more, and I can't think of it.
We could do an entire episode on Adam Sandler, Jennifer Aniston movies. Ring the bell.
There you go. All right. So is that the A side?
That is the A side. And then like a little bit of accoutrement.
All right. So it is my side. It is the B side. And I think this one is going to be a quick one.
Sometimes quickies are good.
Time for some true crime. Yeah, some true crime.
I heard Crutron, which makes me think that we're doing some sort of like anime thing with robots, so I'm super in.
Yes, let's do it. But after this story.
Everyone turns into kitty cats.
So this is a really interesting story. It's actually a story, and we'll get to this, that was a movie. And you know how I am about movies, and I had no idea that this was a movie.
Really? So like you, once you were looking for this story, you found it, and then you later found out it was a movie? It wasn't the other way around?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Crazy.
I know.
Okay, so this is the story of Bernie Tita. Bernie Tita from Albion, Texas. His real name.
Wait, Bernie Tita is not his real name?
Well, like Bernard.
Oh, okay.
Bernard Tita. His story is like plagued with death. Bernie is the son of a Russian-German immigrant who came to the U.S. in 1926.
It got hardcore real quick.
Yeah, right? His mom died in a car accident in 1960 when Bernie was just 2 years old.
Oh, sorry, Bernie.
His mom remarried in 1963, and then he ended up passing away when he was 15. But his dad never really forgave himself for the car accident that killed his mom. He was involved. It was a complete accident, but it was just one of those things that he just never got over. He started drinking real bad, and he ended up passing away.
So forgive me, my puppy just ran up and distracted me. So Bernie died or his dad died?
Bernie's dad died.
Bernie's dad died. Okay. My bad.
I mean, if Bernie had died, this story would be over.
You said it was going to be a quickie, so.
Yeah, it is going to be a quickie. It is a quickie. All right. So Carlton Schamberger, he's the owner of a funeral home that Bernie ended up working at for many years. He said Bernie could do it all. He could do hair, he could do makeup, he could preach. He ended up actually working at this funeral home called Hawthorne's for 19 years.
I know this story. Okay, keep going.
So Bernie, whilst working at this funeral home called Hawthorne's, met a woman named Marjorie Nugent in March of 1990 at her husband's funeral.
Oh, sorry, Marjorie.
Bernie helped out at the funeral. He was the assistant director at the funeral home. And the two, there is some discrepancy whether they were dating or they were just friends, but the two started hanging out, becoming closer, however you want to say it.
And who are we to judge? Relationships are relationships. Don't put like names on it, people. Come on.
Here's the thing. Marjorie was 40 years older than Bernie. And I guess when you're Marjorie's age, you move fast because you're like, hey, I don't have much time. So things got really serious between Bernie and Marjorie. So much so that in 1991, Marjorie changed her will. She completely disinherited her son and left her $10 million estate to Bernie in her will.
So that was not mentioned earlier that she had a $10 million estate.
So in 1993, Bernie left his job and became Marjorie's business manager and travel companion. Bernie, when asked about it, says it was a pure friendship because he's gay. He just wasn't out at the time. People in the town absolutely adore Bernie. Some locals in Albion, Lisa and Susie Cockrell, they said he was like a god to this town. They said many described him as generous, good, a wonderful man. They could not reap more praises on Bernie. Bernie and Marjorie together, they went to Broadway shows. He said they went on great adventures to places like Washington, Baltimore. They did a cruise down the East Coast. And then it goes even further. They went to like Germany, England, Scotland, Wales, Egypt, Hong Kong, Bangkok, Switzerland, Austria, France. When you have a $10 million estate, I guess travel is no big deal, right?
Yeah, they did the whole pre-COVID world tour.
Exactly. So in 1996, I guess things got a little tense between Bernie and Marjorie. And for reasons to yet be discovered, we'll discuss, Bernie decides enough is enough. And Marjorie is outside. She's playing with her dogs. She's petting her dogs. And he shoots Marjorie in the back with a .22 rifle.
What the hell, Bernie?
He shoots her in the back 4 times. Later, she falls. He shoots her again. He walks up closer and shoots her 2 more times.
So he went like full like action movie mob execution, basically.
Yeah. For such a sweet and unassuming guy, he went pretty hardcore on this.
Yeah, he worked at a mortuary. He's seen some dead.
I guess so. So Bernie, like I said, the town loved Bernie, and they always talked about how good and how wonderful he was. So Bernie, after he shoots Marjorie, he wraps her up. He places her in a food storage freezer. He like puts food on top of her, covers her up. His day. He
like runs errands.
Like he runs errands. He ends up going to play practice. He was in like a local production of Guys and Dolls. They go out to eat after.
I know this is going to get me the bell, but do we know what role he played?
No minutia, Adam. No, we don't know what role he played. It doesn't matter.
No, it matters.
It does not matter. I know you're a theater guy. It doesn't matter to the story. Okay?
Yes. Still listening.
Okay. Okay. So this continues months, and nobody seems to be concerned about Marjorie. People might randomly ask, so how's Marjorie doing? Oh, she's fine. She's at home. But no suspicions seem to be raised. Marjorie, unfortunately, had a reputation in town as being like a curmudgeon. Nobody really liked her. Her family, like her grandchildren, say that's not really true. She was a sweetheart. But locally, she was just kind of a really mean woman. Yeah, so nobody really, it didn't seem to really raise any red flags when nobody saw her out and about for months. Well, finally.
Months?
Months. After 9 months, her son says, enough is enough. I want proof my mom is alive. So he basically, because you remember, she had written him out of the will and they had become estranged. So basically he kind of busts into her house 9 months later, and his daughter was with him, and they said, as soon as I walked in, I knew something was wrong. And she said, I immediately just walked to the freezer, and there she was.
He immediately walked to the freezer?
Yeah, the granddaughter did. She said she immediately walked to the freezer, and they found Marjorie wrapped in a white sheet in the freezer after 9 months. Well, during this 9 months absence, Bernie had power of attorney over Marjorie's estate. So he was kind of just free spending. He's buying gifts for his friends. He's doing nice things for the town. And that's why people loved him, because they said he was so good and giving and generous. And I guess when it's not yours, you can be as generous as you want, right?
Mm-hmm. It's fair.
So August of 1997, Bernie is taken in for questioning, and he doesn't fight it. He admits. He said that after the murder, he cleaned her body. He placed her in a freezer. He admits to stealing about $4 million of her money. He says he moved the rifle. He cleared the freezer. He made her coffee while she was out. This is what he's telling the police. He said, I moved it. I moved the rifle. He brought it in, cleared the freezer. He made her coffee like he always would. And then while she was outside petting her dogs, he then goes on to explain how he shot her. Mm-hmm. He says, then I dragged her body. I put it in the freezer. I put frozen food on top of her, and I taped the freezer shut. This is the loving, caring, sweet guy that's an unassuming guy that everybody talks about. There is a detective. His name is Danny Buck. Actually, he's the DA, excuse me. Danny said he was talking to him in town about this whole case. And one man just says, it's hard for me to believe that old Bernie could fire a gun straight. He acts, well, effeminate. You can tell he's never been deer hunting in his entire life.
Well, that's just silly.
Let's keep in mind that this is also the 90s in Texas. So It is a little bit of a different vibe. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying
hopefully it's a different vibe from Texas today, but.
Well, hopefully. But so, like I said, he then told police that he went to his dress rehearsal for Guys and Dolls, and then he took the cast out for pizza, all using Marjorie's credit card.
She's not going to use it.
Really? So there's not like a whole lot of he didn't really fight it. It wasn't like he's this big serial killer or anything like that. The reason that this is so interesting. Okay, first of all, Bernie is sentenced by a jury to 50 years in prison. He files an appeal.
It's a long time.
But yeah, he found that. But it was found that there was sufficient evidence for the jury decision of premeditation. So the first appeal didn't work. Well, then Bernie files a writ of habeas corpus. He alleges that his constitutional rights were violated in the first trial, stating that there was newly discovered evidence that was not allowed in the trial. He also alleged in this writ that Marjorie was controlling and emotionally and verbally abusive to him. And he says that this abuse is what drove him to murder her. He said he kind of had a disassociative state. He doesn't even remember doing it, he says. He says this state was brought on by years of abuse by an uncle, and all that abuse by Marjorie just kind of brought it back, and he disassociated and killed her. Well, I guess it was good enough because the Texas Criminal Court of Appeals approved the writ. Bernie said that Marjorie was possessive and demanding of his time. He said he even had his own place, but she wouldn't allow him to leave, and she would lock him in the house. This woman was 80, Bernie, but okay.
So was there any supporting evidence other than his words? It was a he said, she said thing, or
it's kind of a he said, she said. Nobody else is really buying it. Rod, who is Marjorie's son, said that Bernie and from her family and friends and the business associates of her late husband, that's how she's got all that money.
Right.
So of course it's more he said, she said. Once Bernie was convicted, the town was completely split. Because like I said, people loved Bernie and they thought of him as this really good man.
And I'm going out on a limb here, but it doesn't sound like she was beloved.
No. Again, he had the reputation of this really sweet, giving guy,
right.
And she had the reputation of the town curmudgeon, the really mean old lady that lived in the big house, basically.
She was like the villain in a BBC murder mystery.
Right.
And I know that because I watch a lot of them.
It was requested of the Panola County DA, Danny Buck, Danny Buck Davidson, that his office, quote, take it easy on Bernie. Again, because people really liked Bernie. That's why this story fascinates me so much, because it's like this man killed this woman in nothing, you can't say in anything else but cold blood. It wasn't self-defense. He wasn't defending someone else. He premeditated this. He went, he made her coffee, he cleaned out the freezer and shot her. But the town was like, but it's so sweet. We love Bernie. Don't give him life. Right. There was a group of people, of course. Like I said, the town was split. So some people are like, oh, please take it easy on Bernie. And there was another group of people that were like, no mercy for Bernie. He killed her in cold blood. Mm-hmm. In 1999, Bernie was attacked by inmates shortly after being sent to prison. Also, while incarcerated, Bernie was described as a model prisoner. He taught health classes, participated in the prison choir. Again, everybody loves Bernie, apparently.
I mean, you could be a really nice guy and also be a murderer.
Apparently. So Bernie is serving out a life sentence. But in May of 2014, Buck, the DA, Buck, and a visiting judge named Diane DeVasto, she was from Taylor, Texas, they allowed him to be released from his life sentence. He was released on $10,000 bail pending a new trial.
Because of like evidence that wasn't presented, or
I guess that writ of habeas corpus, and it was approved, and they were like, okay, we'll give you a new trial. So they allowed him to be, and normally people are held in prison while awaiting a new trial once they've been sent to prison, but they allowed him to be released on $10,000 bail. Where he got this money? Probably Marjorie. I'm just saying.
That's fair, because he had control of all her stuff.
Right. Well, after the appeals, attorney Jody Cole discovered that Bernie had been sexually abused for years. This was part of the new evidence.
Gotcha.
That he killed Marjorie during a dissociative state. That was what they said. The theory was actually backed up by a forensic psychiatrist named Joseph Peskoff. It was suggested that Bernie's handwritten confession was a major factor in being convicted, the murder being considered first degree. And they're saying that was heavily influenced by threats of leaking private videos. What's on these videos? I don't know. I could not find what was on these videos that he was being threatened with. So Bernie is released in May of 2014, and he faces resentencing in 2016. In between this time, he has to have, someone look over him, has to have a guardian, a custodian, whatever. He ends up living in Richard Linklater's garage as a condition of his release. Now, this is important because Richard Linklater had actually directed a movie about Bernie in 2011 called Bernie, and it stars Jack Black, Matthew McConaughey, and Shirley MacLaine.
Which is a hell of a cast.
And of course, the film portrays Bernie as a sweet, beloved man in a small Texas town, and Marjorie is depicted as the big villain, which Shirley MacLaine is really good at playing the villain. She does that really well. Like, think about her character in Steel Magnolias, where she's kind of like the curmudgeon, and she does that really well.
And to give context to who Richard Linklater is, he was the guy who directed School of Rock.
Yes.
The Newton Boys, Dazed and Confused, Slacker. He's kind of been a auteur that always championed the underdog.
Mm-hmm. So that makes perfect sense that he would do Bernie. So during the resentencing, which began in on April 16th of 2016, Rod, Marjorie's son, said his mother was a kind and loving woman, completely unlike how she was portrayed in the film.
Yeah, it makes total sense since she disowned him.
What do you mean? He's defending her.
I know that's just really weird, though. Why would he do that after she disowns him?
So there maybe is some truth to that then. Because if he's still defending her even after she disowned him, there's got to be some truth to that, right?
Yeah, there's also got to be some money involved.
Well, maybe so. Several witnesses in the retrial testified to Marjorie's horrible personality, unlike what her son said. On April 22nd of 2016, a jury of 10 women and 2 men sentenced Bernie to 99 years to life. Deliberations lasted 4 hours. That's no time at all.
Yeah. And also, like, getting sentenced to 99 years to life, I mean, that's an oddly optimistic sentence.
How?
That, like, he's going to outlive 99 years.
To life. No, there's no way he's living 99 years and he's already in his 40s, 50s.
I know, but like they could have just said 99 years, but they're like, well, maybe this guy's going to live way longer than we expect. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt and also tag on life.
As of 2016, Bernie resides in the Telford unit of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. A week after his resentencing, his attorneys filed for appeal. In August of 2017, a Texas appeal court upheld the 99-year sentence. Bernie is eligible for parole in 2029. He'll be 70 years old. Bernie was actually featured on 48 Hours, The Mortician, The Murder, the movie. It talks about the crime, his brief re-entry into society, and his resentencing. The murder, of course, like we mentioned, the subject of the Jack Black, Richard Linklater film, Bernie, which I have not yet seen, and I really want to.
As soon as we started talking about this, I was like, I don't have any idea what the story is. And as soon as you mentioned Bernie the Mortician, I'm like, oh my God, this movie's been on my Netflix queue for like 9 years. And I've never watched it.
Which makes sense because 2011. So, yeah. But there you go. That's the story of Bernie Tita. And I watched a couple of interviews with him, and I can understand why people think he's this really sweet, unassuming guy. He's got this very soft-spoken voice, a very easy presence. He makes a couple of jokes. Like one interviewer asked him exactly how to pronounce his last name because people have been saying it wrong so often. And he said, you know what? I've been called a lot of things. Just don't call me late for dinner. So he's a very charming guy. And that, of course, is something that you need when you work in the field, like a funeral director. You need to be sweet and unassuming because you're comforting these families. He would even after the fact go and check on like families and see how they were doing. And that's, I think, why people liked him so much.
There was like an aspect of, counselor to him.
Yeah. But he obviously had a dark side. And I just felt like this story was really fascinating, especially because it had been made into a movie. And I didn't even realize that until after I started looking into it.
Yeah. And I would say we've both admitted we have not seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But my guess is someone who is listening right now has seen the movie and can give us a review. And that would be awesome if they did so.
I would love a review of the movie. Is it worth even my time to watch it? I looked at the review on IMDb and it got a 6.8. That's not bad.
No, I mean, that's what I hope for on Tinder. Anything above 6, I'm going for that.
Oh my goodness. So there you go. That is the story of Bernie Tita. Nothing smart? Nothing sassy?
No, nothing sassy.
Are you feeling okay? Do you got the COVID?
I'm okay. No, I don't have the COVID. I'm just trying not to get belled. And so on so we sometimes we try to do like the recap or the remix, which Brooke hates. What was that?
That was my computer. I apologize.
Your computer says hello?
Mm-hmm. My computer
Why
loves
doesn't
me.
my computer say hello?
My computer loves me. It was just my FBI guy saying hi to me. My computer FBI guy.
Yeah, that's fair. Hi, FBI guy. So usually, sometimes, once out of every 6 episodes, we do the remix. But
once out of every 6, we've only done 6, and we've done a remix every single one.
I don't think we've done it every single one. So I'm gonna preempt that if possible and kind of do like a personal shout out thing because I'm being annoying and changing the rules without talking to you.
Sure. Why not?
So I have no idea if anyone connected to this event is listening, but I lived in Boston for 2.5 years and I worked at Cheers on Beacon Street and also at our location in Faneuil Hall, which had been around for nearly 20 years. And today, because of COVID, or yesterday, or at least it was reported today, that Faneuil Hall location, which was the one that looked most like the TV show, it had been around for years as a tourist stop, as a restaurant, and part of a really vibrant part of Boston, closed for good. Mm-hmm. And there are stories of restaurants and bars and iconic places closing all over the country. But when that happened, it kind of made me think back to the 2.5 years that I've spent there. And I met so many amazing people from that establishment who worked in the gift shop or in the restaurant. And my part of this podcast is always about nostalgia. And it is striking to me that on this day when the main probably revenue stream for that group, because it was a much bigger place than the actual old school Bull and Finch pub, which is on 84 Chestnut on Beacon Hill, has closed, that I met an amazing group of people that I still am friends with to this day. And I will not be able to mention all of them, whether it's Chris or Roger or Lauren or Jamie or Mike, Max, or a dozen other people. It just kind of brought home this idea that when this place is closing, I realized that there were a lot of really good people who I got to know and work with that are still my associates and acquaintances to this day, 15 years later. And it really was a place where it was good to know each other's names.
Mm-hmm. Like Cheers.
So it was Cheers. And it's meant a lot to me. And I don't know that I have ever, it was just a good reminder today as I had those memories again. And as my part is about nostalgia, I have as much nostalgia for the idea of Cheers, but more for the people that I met through it.
That's sweet.
So I'm co-opting the remix for that.
I'll allow it.
Because you hate the remix.
All right. That's been another episode of A-Side, B-Side. Of course, don't forget, if you've got ideas for us, check us out on our Facebook page, our Instagram. You can always leave us a voice memo on Anchor. If you're on Apple, you know what to do. Hit us with the 5 stars. Thank you so much. We love you.
And give us a review of Bernie and what we should look at in the future for nostalgia and or true crime.
Absolutely. Thanks, Adam. Love ya.
Love you too.